All right, good morning, everybody. Hello, artists. Are we ready to try our hand at a little more op art today? So I'm hoping to get started on our second piece of op art. We have created our hand as far as our op art goes. And I want us to think a little bit more about a style of op art and a way that we can create an illusion, right, of something happening even if it's not on our artwork. So for today, we're going to need a piece of paper. We're going to need a pencil. If you have a ruler, that would be really handy for you today. And then something circular to trace. So we need a template. And our template needs to be circular in shape. So I know this could be challenging for us at home, but I have a couple suggestions of what you can think about. So looking around the room, looking around our space, what we have, thinking about what's at school, what's at home. I came up with some ideas. So I happened to just grab this lid. I think it was to a coffee can. That might be something that you have laying around, a lid of some sorts, right? If it's just some kind of food, make sure the food's not on it so it doesn't get on your paper. I also thought about a tape, right? A tape dispenser, a roll of tape would be a nice shape, probably similar to the size that we need. I've thought about the bottom of a bowl or a cup, depending on the size that might work. A plate, a medium-sized plate would probably be a really good option for this. So look around, think creatively about what you can grab for the very first step of this project. I'm gonna let you guys take a minute and go ahead and get what you need. Please make sure that you're grabbing something, I guess safe is the right word to use. If you're grabbing a bowl or a plate, be careful carrying it. I'm gonna actually I think I'm gonna use my tape. It's about the size that I'm going for and hoping for. So when you have your materials, the first step is going to be tracing this circle. Okay, so you're going to need your pencil and you're going to need your circular tracing object. So what we're going to do is we're just going to plop it right in the center of our paper. We're going to try to leave this similar room to what's up top on the bottom and on each side. If it's way up in the corner, just try to center it best you can. You don't have to get out and measure. You can if you want to be really precise, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to force you to do that. That's a decision you can make. Once it's in a good place, go ahead and grab your pencil. We're going to actually hold our pencil nice and tall like we've talked about with tracing of our hand, right? So what we're going to do is just go around the edge. Nice and consistent. You might want to use your opposite hand to keep the object in place, depending on how heavy it is, how much it might slide around. Okay, that looks pretty good. A little bit of a hiccup over here. I can erase that, no problem. That's not going to be a big deal at all. So that's it for the circle, okay? That's all we need. So you can certainly put that aside. You can put that away wherever you found it. Okay, now comes time for our ruler, if you have one. If you do not have a ruler, you might consider just grabbing a book, the edge of a DVD, something that you can create a straight line with, okay? It need not be a big deal or a big search. Again, you could technically freehand this, meaning you could just draw it in on your own. A ruler is just gonna be a little bit better. If you want to be precise, you can look for dividing this in half, okay? So mine's 5.5. Half of 5.5 is about 2 and a little less than 3/4. So I'm gonna go about here and I'm gonna draw a vertical line. Gonna divide my circle in half one way And then I'm going to divide it in half the other way, so a horizontal line. So we're creating a bit of a pie with 4 pieces. Got it? We won't need the ruler for the next step. But what we're going to do is actually divide each side using a nice, what I like to call a crescent shape. If you think about a crescent moon, it's the kind of moon that's that nice sliver. Kind of the line we're going to use, thinking about that. I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to end at the bottom. So think about your end goal here. And I'm going to just create a nice, smooth line ending down at the bottom. Okay? I'm going to do it twice on each side. So I'm going to start at the top again. I'm going to divide this piece in half to my best estimation. And down at the bottom I go. Okay? It's going to be symmetrical. So what I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other side. If you want to get really precise, you could try to figure out measurements. You certainly don't have to. Looks like mine's just a little over an inch. You really truly don't have to, but if you want to take some measurements, go for it. Just know that what we do on one side, we're going to try to do on the other. Okay. Here we go. All right. So that's the beginning here. What we need to do now is actually address this top hemisphere and this bottom hemisphere. It might be starting to look a little bit like a globe or something. So at the top, okay, we're going to create something that kind of looks, lines almost look like a little bit of a frown. We're going to be mimicking the curve here to make this a sphere. Okay, a sphere is a 3-dimensional circle. So we draw a flat circle, it's 2-dimensional, right? It's called a shape. And then when we bring it alive with depth, like a basketball, like a soccer ball, all of a sudden it becomes a form and it becomes 3-dimensional. Now I know we're still just working flat on paper, but there are tricks of the trade that we can create as artists to make it look like it has more depth. And that's what we're going for here, the illusion of depth, right? We know this is flat, we know this is paper, we know this is 2-dimensional, but we're going to create an illusion of depth. So what we'll do is we'll start on the left-hand side, and we're going to make our frown go over to the right-hand side. So we're going to have a slight curve as we go up and then come down, ending at the other side. Let's do that. Let's see if we can fit 3 lines in there. So 1, back down for 2. Okay, and let's try to do one more time. So starting in the corner, going up, and then coming down. And that should do the trick. Okay, so we have our frowny lines. On the bottom, again, symmetry. So we have to flip the idea, right? So we're going to draw what looks a little more like smiley lines, right? So let's try to do 3 again. So we're going to start on the left. We're going to draw our smile to the right and end at that same point. Let's do it again another 2 times to create symmetry. 1, a little off there. That's okay. That's why we use pencil, so we can fix our mistakes. And let's try it one more time. 1, The lighter you press, the easier it is to correct mistakes. If we're dragging really hard with our pencil, it's going to just leave a really heavy mark, and that's harder to get rid of later, right? If we make mistakes. So this looks pretty good. I have a nice even division of space. Hopefully you see a little depth happening there. You can kind of sense where we're going with this and where we're going to have to do a little work to create some art. So we're actually going to be creating checkerboard. I know in the last project we did stripes, but this is going to be all about a checkerboard, and that really creates a fun sense of an optical illusion, and it gives us this really wild, fun artwork to look at, okay? So for now, we have to address the background, okay? So we're gonna grab our ruler. Hopefully you have your ruler or your straight edge still handy. And what we're going to do is start to create lines in the background of our sphere, okay, or our circle at this point. The lines can pretty much start, let's actually have them start just outside of the circle. For this, you probably want to create a grid that's even. So I would use, you have two options here. You can either create a certain dimension. So let's say I'm going to mark off every inch. Okay. I know for a fact this ruler happens to be 1 inch. So technically I could just create my stripes. But what I'm going to do is just line up where I made a mark, and I'm going to create some vertical stripes. Obviously, we're skipping the inside of the sphere. Please do not put vertical stripes through it. We're going to skip right over them so that the sphere is on top of the stripes. Okie dokie. All right. Now let's do it the other way, and then I think we'll take a pause. So again, I'm going to measure out my spacing so it's nice and even. So I decided to do 1 inch. So at every inch mark, right, every number, I'm going to create a dot, and that dot is going to give me my spacing so that I'm creating a checkerboard in the background. Again, I'm skipping over my sphere. Very important step. Checkerboard is behind the circle. Okay, so all materials aside, I'm just left with my artwork. This is what I've created so far. I'm going to take a timeout right there for everybody, make sure that we're all on the same page. And next time we come together, we'll talk about some finishing steps, some final steps, some options. Hope that was enjoyable for you today. We started another piece of optical illusion art, or what we call op art. And talk to you soon. Thanks.